Welcome back to the Hollow Table Games Network. I'm Ginger Joey.
And I'm Corey Voorhees.
Oh, I didn't know if you're going to have one or not, but that's a good one for
Oh,
the
I have
Halloween
have it
area. Good
ready.
job.
It,
So,
it's spooky season.
it is
There
indeed.
might be a theme this month, very
Oh,
possibly.
this is actually one of my favorite times of the year, like especially in Portland, Oregon. I love like when it's like sunny, but like it's got
Mhm.
like that brisk kind of a breeze coming through. So like the where the leaves are just kind of falling off the trees and everything. I don't like the mess that makes, but I do like the color change right there. So,
Yeah, my giant tree in my front yard is going to make a giant mess for me yet this week,
yep.
in the next couple weeks. But it's pretty, so at least it makes up for that. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. This is the perfect time of year in Portland. It's just what was it, 60 degrees today, nice and just beautiful, and yeah, this is the time to come. And we had a bunch of people come, which we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah,
A
because
lot of
on that
visitors to
note,
enjoy our
yep,
pretty city.
we unfortunately didn't get to enjoy most of the weekend because we were indoors in a basement
Yeah.
convention center for the sectors that were held here in Portland, Oregon this last weekend. In fact, they just wrapped up today around probably
Yeah.
like 5 to 6 o'clock. So,
Basement hotel to be exact.
yes,
A
yes,
hotel
yes,
basement.
yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So, got a little toasty, just a touch
Oh,
toasty.
yeah. Yeah. But we'll get
So,
back to that. Let's talk about the broader side of this
sure.
week first, and we'll then come down to talking about our experience and really just talking about this. What was actually a really fun sector. So yeah,
Yep.
we'll dive into that in a minute. But first of all, we got through the weekend. We're here to do the meta update. Let's talk about what we're seeing. This is our first real, well, that's the first. It's the second post force throw weekend, and things are shaping up. We're starting to see what the meta is going to look like. I counted this earlier and I forgot to write it down. There was 9 PQs, right? Joey, can you
Let's
help me?
see. Yep, I got you. 1 second
Nine.
because it's right here.
Yep.
Uh, Looks like it. One, two, three,
Yep.
four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Not 10. No, 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 because not all planetary qualifiers.
Yep. So
One was the
nine
sector.
PQs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why is that ad there?
Um,
Get that ad
and
out of
yeah,
here. We're not doing that stuff here. Hang on.
unacceptable. So
I
yeah, we
can't
had
get that ad
nine
out of here.
PQs, and you're seeing a lot of, I mean, kind of what we were starting to see, and it's just fleshing out more. Right now, seeing a lot of dominance from both the Hans.
Ah!
Han 2 and Han 1 are really kind of dominating the meta pretty heavily. You're still seeing a lot of other decks there, and I don't think we're stabilized yet. I will say that. Like, I still think now that people know they're going to be seeing a lot more Han 2s, you're going to see a lot more tech against Han 2s, which might knock that down because yes, it rolls over a lot of decks, but there's a lot of decks where it's pretty close to 50-50 on. So if they start teching against it, that could make a difference. We're also starting to see some more of the control deck showing up. There was a PQ, the St. Paul PQ had three Kira data vaults make the top eight. That's one of the grossest top eights I think I've ever seen. So we're starting to see that type of thing pop up. I do want to shout out also, we had a Poe data vault as well in that top eight. I was happy to see that. But we're starting to see things flesh out. We're seeing some control decks showing up. The other big one, which we'll dive more in depth on in a few minutes, is obviously the Palpatine Yellow. It didn't just show up at sectors; it showed up at a few other tournaments as well. So that's starting to show up. Iden Data Vault starting to pop up. We're starting to see that control. They're now that they have an idea what they're going to be seeing, which is a lot of Han twos and Han ones. They're starting to build around that, which again, it's interesting to see. I mean, we knew this was going to be a very weird meta with the force throw ban and this quick change, and the fact that we only had 6 weeks before the new set actually drops. I believe it's actually 10/31 it drops, which is interesting. Or at least the not the pre-releases are 10/31. So we're starting to see it flesh out. I don't think it's stabilized yet. That's kind of my viewpoint is we're still not fully stabilized, but we are seeing what are going to be the stronger decks going forward, and that's for certain. And a lot of those are the Han2s. Cad Bane's still fighting. You did see, I mean, the big ones are Quinlan is just gone.
No, that's
I mean,
not
that was
true.
expected.
That's not
I
true.
mean, largely. I mean, did it place at all in the top eight? I didn't see it at all.
Top eight, no, but there was a couple in the top 64. So,
Yeah, I mean, they few made that, but yeah, the power of Quinlan was heavily lost with Force Throw. That deck was very dependent on it, and that was to be expected. Same thing, Talzin Red has dropped off a bit. It's still not out. We did have a few of those pop up as well and do decently, but it's not what it used to be. It's a I don't think the deck has finished adjusting for the new meta, so I think there's still some more adjustment. It might still make a little bit of a comeback, but I don't think it's a top tier deck anymore. I don't even think it was top tier before, but I think it's taken a bit of a hit now.
Um,
Joey, your thoughts on what we're seeing?
Honestly, especially for my experience at the sector this weekend, I honestly think a lot of this game is just how you match up. And so I think the power of a deck can be widely misrepresented based off of the matchups that something had in a tournament. So, I think decks need to learn to adapt. And I don't think a single card makes or breaks a deck. I think it's just a set of tools that adds to it. Because if like it's widely been said in these kind of games, if you're building your deck around one card, you're probably going to lose. Because if you never see that card, you're not going to get there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to say that a single card getting banned bricks an entire deck, I think is an overstatement. I think it's that you had to adapt and overcome from that. For instance, I faced a Kylo Red Tarkin Town. Their adaptation was they lost Force Throw. They put in Daring Raid.
Hmm.
It's not as efficient, but it is a substitute for it at the one cost, do some damage, and then allow you to like maybe get there with that extra little bit of damage. So is adapting.
Yeah.
Is that necessarily the right answer? I don't know, but it's what they're trying to experiment with and see what happens. So I think it's about adapting and overcoming. And by and large, you still got to get lucky sometimes. So
Mhm. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we saw very clearly that a Han 2 Blue is still just as strong. That did not hurt it very much at all. It might have actually helped it because force throw against it was painful for it. But I mean, I would agree largely, but I do think there's certain decks that were very reliant on it. As I said, I think Quinlan was reliant on force throw, discard package, and specifically force throw to kill the big stuff he couldn't deal with.
right.
And
So it was
he
that tool
doesn't
got taken
have an
away.
answer for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and he
tool got
doesn't
taken
have a
away to
good
deal with
replacement.
certain units, and then they have to either come up with a replacement for that. So, what is that replacement? What is that best thing to do? And sometimes it's just having to adapt in a roundabout way, kind of thing. For
Yeah.
instance, like one of the boogeymen of the meta right now is a turn one Ogdo Bogdo by a Han 2. It's like you kind
Mhm.
of need to have an answer for that, otherwise you're going to be taking a crap ton of damage real quickly. And some decks just don't have answers for it. Like my deck did not have a direct answer for it, but I had a workaround which I was able to use to my opponent's surprise.
Yeah.
He was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's how I get rid of that." He's like, I never saw that coming, kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
it's if you can catch somebody off guard with something, then it works out, kind of thing. So
I may have caught a couple people with my spice. It was your idea, the spicy fell the dragon at one of that I threw into my deck. That may have hit a couple Han twos that were not quite expecting that out of me in game one.
yeah,
So yeah, like things like that yeah, they could definitely surprise your opponent. They were not prepared for it, but yeah, I just as I said, I just have a feeling I just don't think the Quinlan deck can rebound back into what we're seeing. I don't think it was strong enough. I think it was too reliant on it, and I think that was also an issue for Talzin to really get back. Is I think those decks were very reliant on that as their top end removal, and it changes the construction. I mean, I haven't seen anybody be able to come up with a good build yet that
see,
feels like well a great build yet.
I see both
I've
of
seen
those
good builds.
decks as they are trying to win before they're like an aggro mid range, and they're trying to win before that turn seven, turn eight kind of situation, right?
Hmm.
And those big units you're referring to that they need to deal with, they should realistically be winning the game before they even hit the board. And so I don't think you need as big a thing. Like, you don't need to be throwing crates at things and stuff like that. It's what do you need to do? And there's ways to adapt to do that. I mean, if you look at, okay, so you're like, what's your big threats that you're worried about? You're like that 7 hit points is kind of like your boogeyman right now, right? Because what are you doing that's going to get that 7 hit point leader from flipping so that you can just take him out right away? Because Plo Koon can't do that anymore, right?
Mhm.
So, well, he can. I mean,
He can
because if it's a
with
five
Quinlan.
flip, yeah, if it's a five flip, you can.
Yeah.
But like I said, so that's like your primary thing for getting rid of the sevens. And then after that, what are you doing? Well, you can go up the curve if you have to. Now you have Qui-Gon at 7, which is then 7 for 7 with an ambush, and then can bounce something at the exact same time. We're basically nullifying their turn if they put something into play that was bigger than that. So it just kind of depends on what you want to be doing. Even if Fennec Shan is potentially good, because if your discard pile is
Yeah.
big enough, you're hitting for 7 to 9. So it's just a matter of thinking outside the box and then maybe running something that most people would be like, wait, what? So you catch them off guard and then you can get there kind of thing.
Yeah. I agree on that. I will disagree on you on one thing of they shouldn't be dealing with that. They shouldn't be, but the problem is Han 2 and Han 1 are a large chunk of the meta now, and they will be dealing with it even if they're trying to win by like 5 or 6. Those guys are dropping huge things on you way earlier. Or not
Right.
way earlier, but yeah,
Which,
that's which again, this is the problem that fantasy sites fantasy flights I think starting to figure out now is resource cheating breaks things.
right.
If you these are too good. You can't give that easy of resource cheating, um, because this is what you get.
Right. I mean, I think resource cheating leaders, by and large, I would like to see them go away. I don't think they
Yeah.
are going to go away. We have already seen the preview for, what's his face? DJ, who is a form of resource cheating
He is.
because
Yeah.
you bring something in for one cheaper, you can get the win plate effect, and then it gets captured for then being able to pop out at a later point in time, kind of thing. So it's a possibility that you're getting it, but you're not getting necessarily the big impact from it because of
Hmm.
the aspect penalty that now he suffers from for using any kind of heroism or villainy. So there is that balance point to the resource cheating that they're doing. A blanketed, open ended resource cheat, that's what they got to stop doing.
Yeah, that has to stop, and I think that's where they're going. Like DJ, I like DJ. I'm starting to mess around with trying to put together a little bit we could start messing around with some DJ because I mean I'm a you know me, I'm a double yellow honk. I've been all over double yellow. I was a double yellow player at the start of the game. I love me some double yellow. I'm still hoping for Kazuda double yellow to come back, because it was a decent deck but not quite top tier, but if it just needs a couple more pieces still.
I don't know. I
It'll
still think
be
you should
great.
have given that a run during a tournament. You never did. You
Yeah,
kind of you
yeah,
diverted off of
it's
it
one of
really
those.
quickly.
Yeah, it just wasn't feeling good enough. But it is one of those that it's close, and yeah, like things like that. I love doing that. I think it's very fun. So yeah, double yellow is my favorite play space, and uh, yeah, DJ is just instant calling to me. And I think DJ will have a. I think DJ will probably have a good run next set. I think there's good opportunity there. I think that's a very powerful ability he's got. Um, but I also think he's probably got one set in him before rotation hits, and then there's just not going to be enough neutral cards to make him viable.
Oh, that's an interesting thought because is he worth the aspect penalty of something?
Yeah.
Because I mean, essentially, you're paying +1 for an aspect card.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing though that he does have advantage for is he can play heroic or villainy with the same penalty.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's not like you're having to like choose your poison, so to speak. He has neutral ground as far as that goes. But I think he's
Yeah.
definitely like the puzzle leader thus far that we've seen, which is kind of
Hmm.
nice. But yeah. So
Yeah.
on
But
to
anyway,
the big
yeah.
news for us this weekend was the sectors were here in Portland, Oregon. We ended up having, as you can see, 478 competitors in that event. It was a 2 day
Mhm.
event, went 8 rounds of Swiss on the first day, and then a 4 rounds of Swiss second day with a cut to the top 8. If you haven't already seen by the scrolling text below us, Mr. Bobby Sapphire of KTOD took it down with an Emperor Yellow deck. Now,
Hmm.
Emperor Yellow is basically control. It's just a different
Yeah.
type
Oh,
of control.
yeah.
It's not complete like one for one removal control, which almost makes it worse because it is not trying to like it gets past a lot of the stuff that people use against control like Chewbacca's and stuff like that
Hmm.
to try to like go, oh, you need to have this specific removal, otherwise no, we're not dealing with that kind of thing. It also bypasses things like Lurking Tie Phantom, who normally you can't capture. Oh, look, now you can capture it, kind of thing. So
Hmm.
it's because you're not capturing, you're stealing. It's a different like kind of workaround, so to speak.
Yeah, different mechanic. Yeah.
So yeah, and the other thing that it does is it gives you a lot of card draw naturally, so that you can really kind of massage out your bad hands in a pretty efficient way. So
Hmm.
kudos to Bobby Sapphire for figuring that out. We've already kind of seen it in a couple planetary qualifiers prior to sectors. It is not unbeatable. I actually
No,
had to play against it in the sectors and or a version of it. I don't know. It wasn't necessarily Bobby's, but I played against a version of it, and I actually took my match for that one. So that was a
I mean,
nice win that I was not expecting.
I I love seeing one of those when I'm playing Poe Data Vault. It's not scary to me at all. It's not that they can't win. Don't get me wrong. That deck can still beat me. But I definitely feel advantaged going into that matchup myself because I can outrace it. I can just dump so many units out so quickly that it just can't stop me most of the time.
Right. So
Yeah.
in the Portland sectors, we had, let me switch these little slides over here. The top 64 breakdown looking like this. So we have a plethora of Hans, 28 to be specific, a combination of ones and twos, ones taking most of it, and that is a
Wait, 20
combination of blues
23.
and greens. 20, I thought
And
it
that's
was 17. Well,
12.
it's a small print for me, so maybe it is 12
It
and
looks
not.
like 12 and 11. Yeah, 12 and 11.
Okay,
So
I thought it
23.
was 17 by my screen, but never
Yeah.
mind. So, 23, we have a mix of blues and greens. So it is not just one, that's a little misleading there. And then you have the Han 2 blue, or Han 2s. Know if there was any greens in top, but I'm assuming that's a mix of green and blue in that regard. I can't imagine they're
Most that
all
I
blue.
mean, pretty much all I saw today, what or yes, yeah, all I saw yesterday was Blue Force. There might be a few smatterings of some others, but it was pretty dominated by Blue Force.
Right. So, and then so that's that as far as what it's looking like. And see this guy right here? This little Obi-Wan Kenobi guy right there? That's a me. I actually took the Obi-Wan Kenobi blue green for. Oh, I got it. I did it again. Every time I go to the picture,
Yeah.
you go away, so I have to bring
Oh,
you
nice.
back.
Yeah.
You go to a little
I
black
don't
screen for a
exist,
second.
but
That's twice
I
now that
didn't
that's
make big
happened.
two. I don't count. So
My
that's
apologies to the viewers. It's not that I don't like Corey. I'm not trying to black him out. It just happens.
I mean,
So,
be honest. You don't know. We know this.
uh, plead the fifth. Uh, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, I had pegged it to be anti-Tarkin Town because looking at the data analysis as we had over the last couple weeks, I fully expected Control to come back into the swing of things with Force Throw going away. That said, I don't like Control decks and I don't like Tarkin Town decks. I haven't found a great counter to Control decks, so I made the choice of let's feast on the Tarkin Town decks because the Tarkin Town aggro decks are kind of the counter to Control. So I was going
Yeah.
to be seeing a lot of them potentially at the field, and it turns out, I believe, had Tarkin Town was the second most represented deck at these sectors this weekend. So that gave me a lot of food if I actually manage to get into them. And again, this is where I say the luck comes in. Because if you just get the bad matchups, then that's just rough. I mean, what are you going to do? I was fortunate enough that in the first 4 rounds, I faced 3 CAD Tarkin Town decks. So that was kind of my bread and butter, which was fortunate for me and allowed me to basically weasel my way into day 2 because I did have to face Hantu Blue, which ended up being Dylan, which was the number 1 placed after day 1. And I almost got a game off of him. I would have been the only person to get a game off of him if I would have gotten it. I was 1 hit point away. 1 hit point!
Oh, so close.
And then I had to beat my other loss came to a Han 1 blue. That was my other one. So I lost to each type of Han basically. I beat a Han one green, which was a tough match because that's one that like I can get there, but it's gonna take good draws. And my
Hmm.
last match for the win it in, because I was 5-2, I had to win one more. I had to face a boss blue, and I was like, "Oh no, this is a nail in my coffin. I'm not getting there." And through the grace of luck, I actually managed to beat the boss blue. It just came down to card draw and resource placement and, stars aligned kind of thing. So I managed to make it into day two. So I was very fortunate. And again, that's just matchup dependent kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would say.
the deck
Sorry, go
performed better than I thought it was going to. I wish I would have had more than like 3 days worth of working on it, because I think if I could have like fleshed out a little bit more of a way to counter some control mechanics, then I
ahead.
would have been better off. The one sneaky play that I did that caught Dylan off guard was with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like I said, the turn one Ogdo Bogdo is a threat you have to deal with from a Han 2 blue.
Yeah.
I heal his Ogdo Bogdo one hit point on turn one when he drops it. I'll take 5 to the face, and then I heal it another hit point.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
that
that
works. Yeah,
turns him off.
and he
Until
can't
my
do anything.
opponent can get a Grogu and damage his own unit, Ogdo Bogdo doesn't do anything after that.
Yeah.
And so, again, my color combination did not have a direct answer for Ogdo Bogdo, but I had a workaround answer if I played my cards right. And that's what I was referring to earlier when I'm saying sometimes you have to think outside the box on what your deck does by identifying the threats and coming up with a solution to those threats, even if it's not a direct solution to the threats.
Yep. Yeah, no,
So,
I didn't even think of that of myself either, but that's a brilliant way of taking care of Agdabago. That's perfect, and that's yeah, more value in that Obi-Wan. Like again, I think it's a deck you should keep working on and keep working into the next set because I think it is a good deck, and it has potential out there. I'll say my experience was kind of, and again, this is the story you're telling about. Yet it comes down to draw. My experience was kind of that same thing. Of I went 4-3-1 on day one, had a decent day, only had one loss that was rough. So I had good matchups, but like you said, you saw three Cad Bane Tarkin Towns. I didn't see one, and I would have loved to have seen a Cad Bane Tarkin Town because my deck is well prepped against that. So like that's a matchup I wanted. I did get lucky. Also, I completely dodged blue green villainy. Wasn't complaining about that either. But yeah, it's one of those that the matchups just weren't there for me. My losses were close matches against the Han 2 and a Han 1. Both of those were rough, and then a Talzin red that I discovered that I haven't been practicing against it, and my deck has no answer for old Daka, and just that I'm done. It was as simple as that. And it's one of those. Oh yeah, that's a problem that I didn't think about. That is an issue that I need to work on now. If I keep working on playing this deck yet this set, if we do any showdowns, but yeah, it's matchup dependent. If I dodged that Talzin, if I'd gotten some Cad Banes, I feel like I could have easily made day two as well. I mean, again, every other than the Talzin, both of my losses were very close. So yeah, it was an act. I was basically an action away from winning both of those. They just got there just a touch before me. So, and that I never feel bad about that. When that happens, you just come out and say, "Yep, that's luck of the draw. He got the cards, I didn't," and that's how it goes sometimes.
yeah, I do think though that this speaks volumes to what we've said in the past. And even I wasn't completely buying into it, which was the play the deck you like to play.
Yeah.
Make sure you're good at your lines on your own deck. Be aware of what's out there. But in the end, a lot of it's just going to come down to a little bit of lucky matchups. Like you
Yep.
fortunate favors the bold kind of thing. Make a bold decision. Like I said, I was playing a gambit deck. I knew full well going into it that if I get bad matchups, I am DOA. But if I get the matchups I want, I'm going to sail through like butter kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I got about 50-50, but so it ended up like, working out. But even in the bad matchups, I knew my lines so well that I was able to work through how to get to the like I knew what I needed to do to make those bad matchups go in my favor if the card draw was correct kind of thing, and if my
Mhm.
opponent maybe just missed a card draw kind of thing. That's what you have to do. Know your deck well enough to be able to capitalize on opportunities when they do arise. That's all it comes down to. Uh,
And I mean, the other thing, again, and the other piece I argue is don't feel like you're constricted to the meta. If you want to play one of these meta decks, the Han twos, the Han ones, do it. I mean, be aware Han one takes a lot of practice to be good at, but yeah, feel free to do those. But also, if you've got a deck that you feel like is pretty decent and has decent matchups against a lot of those, uh, play it. Then
mhm.
you might also get some wins off surprises. I absolutely rolled over two Sabines that I matched up with, and they just weren't prepared for Poe. Both of them thought they could race me. And that was their mistake. They did not know they needed to take care of my space units, and they were just like, "Oh, I'm just going to race them." And I'm like, "All right." Didn't even get close. So like things like that. If you've got something that is people are not as prepared about, that does give you an advantage in some matchups, which again, when it comes down to simple things like card draw and some luck, a small advantage like that can win you games.
Yep. And the other thing of note is even just look at this top 64, right? There is 20 different leaders in this top
Hmm.
64. 20. Everybody that was like the highest placing in the top 64 of their leader got a showcase like they've done at past events kind of thing. And Corey from FFG said, because he was the one giving them out, he gave out 21 because technically three people in the top 64 were in the top 64, but they unfortunately didn't have the 18 points you needed to play on day two.
Hmm.
So we didn't have 64 players for day two, but so there's a 21st person here that that's 21 showcases. That's the most he has ever given out at one of these events. That shows you the variety that we're dealing with right now in viable decks.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're preparing for, I mean, we've got the next sectors is limited, but we have the what do they call it again? The next tier, the one that's in Minneapolis.
Regionals is in
Regionals, yes.
Spain though. So
Oh, is that Spain? I thought there
that
was a
one's in
Minneapolis one too.
Spain. No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
So the two sectors
Oh,
were in the
Minneapolis is the
States
sector.
and
Yeah.
the regionals was in Spain this year, which I'm all for. I
Oh,
mean, that gives it makes
for
it to
all
where
our
Europe
Spanish
doesn't always have to come to
viewers.
here kind of thing. So it's nice to hear
Yeah, all our Spanish viewers, hola. And
that.
but yeah, no, so yeah, when you're going to these events, and same for showdowns as well. Like showdowns, don't don't feel like you need to play the top decks. Yes, Han 2, Han 1, they're very, very good. Same with Cad Bane. Like you're gonna see a lot of them. You're gonna see a lot of people play them, but it's also one of those decks that it's very good, but you need a lot of reps. Specifically Han 1, and I would say Cad Bane as well. It takes a lot of reps. So if somebody's just picking it up because they're seeing it's doing well, it's not quite going to get you there. Han 2, maybe a little easier to pick up and get into, but even then, if you're just picked it up and try to just compete, if you're going, as Joey said, with an advantage of I know my deck, I've been practicing my deck, I know my lines really well, you have an advantage against these people, even if they have a technically stronger deck.
So, just, this is kind of like a little bit of a quick pick, because Force Throw's gone. This gives you
Hmm.
something to think about. This also then gives you an insight on what you potentially can be facing in the upcoming well, not the sector of Minneapolis because that's limited, but any
Yeah.
PQs that you have coming up that are still in the docket, or even your store showdowns, because that's the great local way of kind of getting into the competitive scene. So these are some of the decks that people might be bringing to the tournament. Therefore, you can know roughly what do you have to play against at this point in time. It's still a rock paper scissors meta though, so just pick your
Hmm.
flavor and go to town.
Pick your flavor. And yeah, I mean, yeah, big thing is, as we mentioned, focus on think about what you need against those matchups. Think about what those lines are that those decks are running and how you can stop them. And that's how you do better is you tech against that sideboard mainly, but maybe you throw in some spicy stuff. I mean, we mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, conversations with Joey, I decided to throw in that spicy one of Fell the Dragon in my main deck, and it did work. So like things like that do work out. So make sure you're thinking about where your weak points are and what these main decks that you're going to be seeing a lot of are trying to do and how you can disrupt that while still running your game plan and running your lines.
Right. And so Holotable Games Network, I'm getting together a Discord, so if you want to get into our Discord, or maybe you can start seeing some of Corey and I decks and see like have a discussion about them, drop a comment,
Yeah.
let us know you want in, and then we can figure things out and get her going and grow this thing up to the stars. Until next time, that's it for us. Have a good one.